As you know, I'm a spiritual empath and shaman, and I have spent my entire life's work parsing out and on a deeper level understanding how our spiritual world works. How we as human beings, I believe that we all have access to all spiritual dimensions. It just is a matter of how much energy and attention we give those different spiritual dimensions. And today I want to talk about what we call a burden. We always, you can sometimes you can look at someone and say, "Oh my goodness, your heart looks heavy. You seem so burdened. What's on your mind? What's on your heart?" There's a thousand ways that we refer to feeling burdened. And one of the things that we rarely get to dig into is what exactly is that burden? Where does it come from? Why do we have it? What is its purpose? And then how do we enlighten ourselves? How do we lighten ourselves up from having that burden? So each human being a has multiple spiritual imprints. It really is what your soul is comprised of. Your spirit has had multiple, whether you consider them past lives or your relationship to the Akashic records, which is your soul's inventory of every experience, every feeling, everything that you've ever uh, experienced in any life expression. And we bring certain spiritual imprints into our current life, and we bring them to guide us. The imprints that we carry will also attract us to certain people, places, and things, certain experiences, certain perceptions, certain relationship to feelings, and how we feel about ourselves and others, how we perceive what's happening in our life and others. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. So, uh, when you're dealing with your spiritual imprints, sometimes some of those imprints are burdens. They are heavy feeling, emotional feeling experiences that we've carried into this life. So I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to read from my book, Conquer Your Karmic Relationships, Heal Spiritual Trauma to Open Your Heart and Restore Your Soul. And I want to read a little bit about uh, what I talk about in Part 5, Infinity. It's your relationship to sexuality, creativity, and the creator. So, a burden is the weight of your ungrieved spirit, seeking acknowledgement and transformation. The more you compassionately embrace its presence, it can transform into grief. This process, excuse me, excuse me, this process creates a lightness unlike any other experience you will ever have. A person new to the process of spiritual work often perceives others in their life with repulsion or judgment. As their sensitivities open, they witness their movement and lightness in reference to perceived negativity or misery of others. Phrases like higher or lower vibration, positive or negative attitude, or old or new soul are all common in this phase of development. What is true is the relationship created in this place is all about inner conflict and outer struggle. So we carry these imprints or these burdens with us. We carry them to create a relationship to our outer world. And that helps us to better see who we are, what we're made of, what our intention is, what we need, and then how we see and relate to other people. The next element of talking about burdens is talking about how we share them. The thing that triggered this whole conversation for me the other night as I was watching a television program, and this man was saying he wished his daughter had been the victim of an assault. And he said, "I wish I could take that burden from her. I wish I could take it off of her and put it on me because I can handle it and she can't." And interestingly enough, that is an imprint that I came into life with, was let me take your burden because I'm strong. Part of being an empath is literally taking the burdens of others and processing them. And I don't know that I was strong when I started, but I certainly am strong now, having done that over and over. And one of the things that I learned by sharing the burdens of so many is that I realized that there were multiple lifetimes when I was unable to process my own burdens, and I shared mine with others. I put what was on me on other people. Sometimes I couldn't deal with the grief of what was happening to me, or the uh, the devastation or the sadness, right? And so I shared that burden with other people. They were willing to energetically, mentally, emotionally, either directly or indirectly, take it from me to help me process. And so I came into this lifetime to better help, uh, to teach myself from a different perspective, from an empowered perspective, what it means to be able to process that burden, what it does for me, uh, taking the burdens of other people and processing them. Anytime you take a burden, and what that means is that you are energetically resonant. You are having a similar vibrational expression, emotion. You're both angry, you're both sad, you're both happy. Um, there is something, you're both feeling victimized. But anytime there are two people that come together and there's an emotional resonance that creates a space for you to connect and share your burden. Um, if you're ultra sensitive, the idea, people who aren't ultra sensitive still share the burdens of others. They just have less awareness of it. An empath or somebody who's ultra sensitive just has the awareness of what it feels like to take something on from someone. But the truth is you can't take something from someone that you don't already have. And the gift of sharing the burden is to, on a deeper level, understand what you have, why it's there, and to create a space to learn to grieve it. Right? The whole point of having a perception. One of the burdens, a common burden that people have, is a perspective on life that doesn't allow for movement. It doesn't allow for change. It doesn't allow for freedom. It doesn't allow for joy. Right? Uh, you might, the idea of Eeyore, I'm so sad. My life is always sad. Every day I wake up and I feel bad. That's a burden. That perspective is the burden that you carry, the cross that you carry. And if you are willing to go, oh, okay, so that's an imprint that I have. It's not my fault. No matter what I did to be in the position to carry this burden, no matter what I did that led me to continually participating in this pattern, it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It means that this is my opportunity to transform my perspective and how I see myself and others. Right? So if you can take your burden and recognize, again, we oftentimes hello there, Pankaj. That's a fabulous name. Nice to see you. If you can share a burden with someone, when you share a burden with someone, it not only is going to give you insight into who that person is, but it's also going to give you insight into who you are and what was the original wound. Right? Right now, we are dealing with millions of people on the planet, billions of people on the planet. And every single person on this planet has had multiple life experiences on some level where they're carrying original wounds. Some are cultural wounds that are caused by colonialism. Some are caused by enslavement. Right? There are multiple cultural wounds that every different soul, even if the soul wasn't necessarily born into a marginalized culture, that soul can still carry the wound, the original wound, from a period of time and to process it. And maybe they incarnate in a body, in a life that has a different relationship on the planet. And so it enables them to better focus on processing the original wound. Okay, everybody has their own makeup of this, right? Their own. I think a lot of Star Trek and the holodeck. This is the illusion that we didn't have a choice in who we are. We just kind of came in with it, and uh, like the holodeck, you can call on, so you can set an attention, and it'll be created for you, right? And on some level, that's what our spirits have done, is we have created the mix of imprints that we carry that create certain burdensome outlooks for us. And in doing so, it allows us to, again, see ourselves, to have a deeper, more expansive compassion for others, and then it allows us to be able to become enlightened, which means that we grieve through or process through our burdens, and we release them. And trust me, your burdens that you carry are specific and limited. You don't just continue to gain new burdens, new burdens, new burdens. You came in with certain outlooks or spiritual imprints that, as you begin to work through them and they lift from you, there's going to come a day and a time when you become free from those burdens. If you work at it, you're going to get there, no matter how you slice it. When that day comes, it is a complete and total physical, mental, emotional shift. And it does feel like last week we talked about enlightenment. We talked about the difference between enlightenment and maturity, right? And this idea of enlightenment is you literally become enlightened. You literally lighten up. The burdens become released from you, and you no longer carry them. So now is the time that I want you to start formulating any questions that you have. I have one more thing that I want to read. And then I want you to, if you have any questions, I want you to come up with it, to tell me, so that I can answer them. Okay. So one of the, in Heal Your Soul History, which is this book, I talked about one of the places in life that we experience this burden exchange is in our emotional connection, our spiritual connection, our intimacy, and our sexuality. When we become spiritually, mentally, and emotionally connected with someone, and physically, but sexuality isn't just the physical act of sex. Sexuality is the movement of the Kundalini in our body, and it connects us to ourself and our environment, and it connects us to others. And so I just wanted to read a little bit here about, let me see. There is something that people often do called sharing the burden. Energetically and emotionally, when we engage in sexuality and intimacy, there is a connection of spirit and a transfer of burden from one partner to another. The burden can be a denser emotion, an entity of some sort, or an energetic cord that connects you to this sexual partner until it is recognized and removed and the relationship is resolved. So this idea of resolving a relationship, that's one of the things that we do, is that all of these imprints that we have help us to better see, understand, and then resolve our relationship to whatever it is that we're focusing on, whether it could be ourselves, others, our feelings, a dynamic, whatever it is. We are seeking to get to a place of peace and balance in that thing. And that's why we carry these burdens. That's why we carry them. That's what their purpose is. And the only way to release yourself of them is to walk through them, to work through them. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay. So there's something that I talk about in Heal Your Soul History. It's called the burden releasement protocol. And it is an opportunity to take an inventory of your physical body and your emotional body, our physical body tells us when we have a spiritual and emotional connection with our environment or with someone else. These cords, these spiritual, energetic cords, can connect us through time and space to people past and present. And if we become connected and we haven't been able to resolve that connection, and again, resolution comes when you have peace, when you are detached, when you say, okay, doesn't mean that when you resolve a dynamic doesn't mean the relationship has to go away, but your connection in that same way, in that dense way, that's the thing that changes. So part of I'm not going to go through the whole protocol, but part of the protocol is to take your own inventory, to sit and take a very deep breath, bringing it all the way down to the diaphragm, and then exhale. And once you do that, to ask yourself where in your body you are holding the energy of the original burden. And let your body tell you. Sometimes you'll feel a little pinching or a little like a little vibration. I feel a lot in the back of my head and the back of my shoulder. Often when my sometimes when my spirit guides are communicating with me or I'm connecting with these with myself. So once you have determined where in your body is getting your attention, you want to start asking it questions. No, you're not crazy. You want to ask it, who are you? What are you? Where do you come from? What year is it? Right? And just allow your mind to, whatever energy or information comes forward, to let it come forward. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It doesn't, you are in fact using your imagination. Your imagination is the aspect of you that has the ability to be multidimensional. That's what we do as creators, is we are multidimensional. We pull information in, and then we use it into where we're at. So take the opportunity to take a physical inventory, settle on one place, connect with what it is, ask questions about it, and then ask, how does it serve you? Because we don't bring things into our life with us, into our spirit. We don't bring them into this incarnation if they aren't purposeful. So once you understand that purpose, it allows you to more easily gain the information that you need, and then you are able to release it. The final aspect of the burden releasement protocol, is to ask yourself if it's time to release it. What work needs to be done? And if it can be released, you can ask, you can see it moving from you. You can ask your guides or your angels to take it from you. Whatever religious leanings you have, if you're down with Jesus, then Jesus can help you. Right? No matter what your belief system is, you have lined up intrinsically in that spiritual beings to help you master this part of being human. So that's what I have for you today, and I'm so glad that you could tune in. I've got a few people here, and I don't see anybody has any questions necessarily. So I really appreciate you for tuning in. Again, my name is Tracee Dunblazier, and this has been Chatcast. And I'll see you again next Friday.